Hello, I'm Captain Bill Lloyd. Welcome to this edition of Frontline. In this edition, Captain R.B. Alley will talk to us about apparatus maintenance. Captain Mike Brown has some interesting information on rope rescue techniques. And Captain Joe Pozo introduces a new segment titled All Hands. And Battalion Chief Paul Maunch will review the last fire worksheet. First, let's go to Captain R.B. Alley. R.B. recently visited the fire garage and has some valuable information for us on apparatus maintenance. R.B.?
Have you ever wondered what it'd be like to be a fire mechanic at the city garage? I've often wondered that myself. Today, myself and Instructor Anderson are down here at the city garage with Tom Coogan, and we're going to talk about some problems that we're having with some of our apparatus. We're going to look at how to tell whether slack adjusters are adjusted properly and when you should write up a speed letter on it. We're going to also talk about air pressure in tires. And another thing we're going to talk about is some new lighting systems that are installed in the apparatus to let you know that some of your compartment doors may be open. Tom, can you tell us a little bit about some of the things we're doing down here? The apparatus seems to be coming in here all the time. What are some of the big problems that you see?
The biggest problem is lack of greasing and the brakes, which are being checked, but they're actually not out of adjustment, but it's just the way they're being checked, they're wrong. And just some things are being overlooked in service, and basically.
Okay, there's been some controversy on some of the ways that we're doing things, so we want to try to get everybody thinking along the same lines. So we'll go ahead and look at some of the problems that we're having under the apparatus, if we will. That'd be okay?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, Tom, let's go ahead and look at some of the problems that you're having down here at the city garage. Go ahead and just point out some things that you're seeing and ways we can change our ways of doing business so that improve our maintenance for our apparatus.
Okay, the first thing is when greasing a truck, there are some points that are being greased that shouldn't be, or they're being done too often. For one is up here on the slack adjuster. They only need to be done once a year, and what they do if they get too much grease in them, they'll lock up because it fills up with grease inside. Okay, one of the other points that should be checked are on the steering 90-degree boxes. The top U-joints here aren't getting enough grease, and in here is getting too much. And you can check for the looseness of the yoke there on the end of the 90-degree box on both ends. And end of the box here is getting too much grease, as you can see. It just needs about a squirt every half a year. That's it. That's it. All right, and one other point that hasn't been getting enough grease is the top rear spring hanger up here. It's hard to see to get at also. The best way is to come around from the top of the tire and you can get access to it. Okay, and one of the other points that are getting too much grease are the kingpins. As you can see, the excess grease on the top and bottom. They only need one shot every 6 months, every service in the station. Because you get too much, it falls down and gets on the wheel and on the disc. Okay. All right, when checking your slack adjusters, the best way to check them is to release your brakes, chalk the wheels, and you check the free stroke, which is you put I got a wrench. You can put a wrench in the backside of the clevis and pull it out, and you measure from the distance between the clevis and to where it stops. As soon as you feel it get tight, that's your free stroke. And it's on this particular brakes, as they're all different, being disc brakes and all, the free stroke should be from 3/4 to an inch.
Okay, so it's different on other trucks then?
Yeah, drum brakes are different also.
Okay.
What you do is keep the wheels chalked, and you can have someone get in the cab and apply air pressure no greater than 90 pounds, and you can check your maximum stroke, which should be no greater than 2 1/4 on these particular type brakes. Okay, what you do is you put the end of your tape on a flat surface on the chamber itself and pick a point of where it'd be easiest to measure from. Like here it would be 2 1/2, and you see the point on the pin itself, and then you see where that point stops. You can mark it or just, keep an eye on where it goes. And then you just put a wrench on the end of the clevis, and then you just pull it out like this. And as you can see, that goes to about a little over an inch. And what you would do is, they're a little too far out, they need to be adjusted up.
Okay, Tom, so what we're looking at here on the apparatus as far as maintenance goes, some of the grease fittings, we're putting a little bit too much grease in there. You've identified those. The ones we've been greasing, the other ones that we didn't point out are greased properly as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, basically they get them most covered. They all are getting a little bit too much, but you know, there's some that don't get any, but they actually think they're getting them. But
Okay, well, that's good. Okay, well, we'll make sure we don't put quite as much grease on it. I noticed you pointed out some of the fittings only should get greased maybe once every 6 months or so. I think that's a big problem that we're just every pit day or whatever, somebody shoots a wad of grease. Is that what you're seeing?
yeah, and if it doesn't take grease, note it down and send in a speed letter on it to let us know. Because if we can catch it ahead of time, it don't take much to get it to take it. Usually it's bad or hardened, greased in the fitting. That's all it takes. And if we get it in early enough, we don't have all these spring problems.
Okay, good. One of the other things you pointed out underneath was the slack adjusters, how to properly check those. That's something that y'all do down here as far as adjustment and everything. But could you just run over the measurements again for us, how far it should be out and whatever?
Okay, well, it's kind of hard to go over all the measurements because there's so many different types, and drum brakes are different than disc brakes and stuff like that. But basically, if you just can tell by your rate, if you feel that you're losing brakes, and you can go under, and if you do have disc brakes, and if it is way over an inch or so, you should know that, you know, to get them adjusted. And drum brakes are, if they're over 3/4 of an inch or more, you need them adjusted. And some you can visually check just by looking at your pad and seeing the gap in between the pad and the rotor if it's too far. Same with the drums. There's inspection holes. Just look and see what it looks like. You know, if it's too far away, it need to be adjusted up. Send it in and we'll adjust it.
Okay, thanks, Tom. A few other things we want to look at while we're down here. We want to go ahead and check some visualizing cracks in springs, some things that you said we ought to be looking for, and also we want to go ahead and talk about some air pressure and new warning lights. Okay?
On your springs, when you're greasing them and all, you should check for visual cracks or any type of bends that really shouldn't be there. Like most common for these are by the eyes and all the spring cracks on the front and rear. Okay. Another problem we're having on visual checks is on the oilers on the front wheel hubs are being painted, and they're a sight glass, so you're supposed to be able to see the oil level in the glass, where you can just look down at it anytime service or any day, just to check and see if your oil levels are up. But they've been being painted and you can't check them, so now you have to remove the plug and look in. And these particular wheel hubs take 85 to 140 weight gear oil, which you just pull this rubber plug out and you can fill up. There's an oil level line on the sight glass that when it's not painted you can see, and you fill it up to that level. Alright, this is the front of your pump, which in this particular pump has an auto lube, which is an automatic luber for the front end of the pump. This here is the drain, which you remove this plug on the bottom of this auto lube and it'll drain all the lube oil out that's inside or what water that is in there. And this should be checked every pit day and refilled with 85 to 140 weight oil.
Okay, Tom, you've helped us out on a lot of grease fittings and slack adjusters and things like that, and automatic oilers and all. Just to reemphasize the fact on these slack adjusters, we know the distances, the proper distances now, approximately how it should be gauged. What problems are you seeing as far as how the individuals go about, you know, getting the test and everything? What was that situation you told me about?
Okay, what it is, I went out and I got a call that brakes were out of adjustment on a truck. I went down to the station, checked the brakes, and they were fine. What it is that men are getting in there, and women, and they're getting in the truck and having a man get underneath, put the tape measure up to the chamber, and they have him jump on the brakes hard as he can, and it's going to go out far as it wants. And on certain chambers, it'll go to that chamber stops. It bottoms out, and that's not the proper way. You got a certain amount of service pressure you're supposed to apply to the chamber, in which some trucks have gauges and some don't, so you got to go by just feel, or just, you know, you just have a way you know how far to go, and you get the proper adjustment. But getting in and jumping on it and saying it's reading, you know, past its limit is common because they don't have the knack for what certain pressure to put to the chambers, and that's going to cause to have the brakes over adjusted a lot.
Okay, with the trucks that have gauges, what should their pressure gauge be reading when they make their check?
The gauge should read between 80 and 90 pounds service pressure.
Okay, so if it's above that, they need to bleed the brakes off and then check it.
No, you just have not press on the pedal so hard is what you do. And you do this while your brakes are released also.
Okay, hopefully that'll clear up some things with slack adjusters, problems we're having with that. Another question that's come up is with air pressure in the tires. I understand that the tires have a certain pressure written on them, and you've got some more information on that. What can you tell us about the air pressure in the tires, what it should be and what it should be maintained at?
Okay, we had the trucks weighed, and you don't go by the tire pressure on a tire is just the maximum tire pressure for that particular type of tire, but not vehicle. So we had the vehicles weighed and all, and we came up with a roundabout figure of 95 is the best rating for the PSI for the tires because of the weight of the truck, front and rear axles.
Okay, so our trucks should have about 95 PSI in the tires, no matter basically which truck they're talking about, right? All of them should be about 95.
95, yeah.
Okay, good. I appreciate that. One thing that we also want to point out is you're installing some marker lights on the trucks. What are they going to be used for inside? A new warning system is going to be installed in the trucks. Could you tell us a little bit about that and what it's going to be used for?
The door ajar light?
Yeah, the door ajar light.
Okay. Yeah, that's for the two squirts we have with the four-door cabs that let you know when the back doors aren't completely shut to keep them from popping open. And we have moved the door ajar lights and the E1s over to a more visible spot because they were kind of hidden down below the dash where they were hard to see and they were blocked by the steering wheel. So we have moved that.
Okay, where did you relocate them on the apparatus? Where are you going to try to put them?
On the squirts, we moved them up to the top between the driver and the captain's seat or whatever, where it sits there.
Yeah,
Put them up in between there where they both could see it.
Okay.
And E1s, we put it up on the right-hand corner of the dash panel where it's easy for the driver to see.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate your time today. We're going to be coming with some more information on maintenance as changes are made. Our new maintenance SOP is probably going to be out here soon. We have a lot of different changes. One of the biggest questions we've had from some of our firefighters, Master Firefighter Rick Kellogg had the question about back flushing pumps. How do we go about doing it? What's the proper method? And we need to standardize it, make sure that it's done properly. Well, talking to Tom down here, we've had some problems with back flushing. Bob Rumens is developing a new way or a new system on how it should be done. We'll be coming to you in a future Frontline episode with some information on that. So we'll hopefully have you cleared up on back flushing pumps. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Tom Coonan for giving us a tour of the maintenance shop and showing us some of the problems that we're having out in the field. We'll be coming to you with some more information on some future Frontlines. Need to do one thing before we leave, something that every firefighter's department's always wanted to do. I'm out here at Joe Conway's pickup truck with some grease. Reporting to you from Frontline with the monkey paws. I'm Captain R.B. Alley.
Hello, this is Frank Mixner again with a reminder about the Equal Employment Opportunity Affirmative Action Plan program that I have available for all stations. I've presented it with over half a dozen stations. Some stations have even invited other stations over during the presentation, and the results have been surprisingly positive. It's received very well. There's a lot of questions and answers, and I think everybody that has seen it has benefited from it and has a better understanding of what equal employment opportunity is and just exactly what the requirements are in the city policies and the state and federal policies. So I want to remind you again, just give me a call at the Fire Training Center and we can set up a time where I will come out to your station and spend about an hour giving the presentation and answering questions. Thank you.
Each month, Captain Joe Pozo will present a feature emergency incident. We called this segment All Hands. Joe?
Hello and welcome to this portion of Frontline. We're going to be calling this All Hands. And what we're going to be doing in this portion is we're going to be covering any working fires that have happened that we may want to review, and possibly get the person who had the most input into that fire on the show. I'll be hosting this portion, and we're going to again be calling it all hands. With me this month is Battalion Chief Bill Adams from the 1st District on C shift, and we're going to be talking about a job they had down on Bells Road back in March. And Chief, you want to tell us a little bit first about your career in the 1st Battalion and just what transpired on that day?
Well, Joe, as far as my career is concerned, I've been in the department since 1969 as a paid firefighter. I joined the volunteers in 1966. I was a member of the volunteer company at the Plaza. There again, I came in the paid service in July of 1969, and back those days we didn't have a recruit school, as you well know. I went right to work at Company 11 on B shift under Captain Gurley, and spent 4 years down there. Got transferred to Princess Anne Plaza when they put paid men at 16. I left there and went to Company 8 for 1 year, and I got promoted to lieutenant. And then I went back to Company 11 as the lieutenant in charge of B shift for 3 years. Then I got promoted to captain and still remained in the 1st Battalion, and I've been there ever since. I've got a total of 18 years in the 1st Battalion, either as a firefighter or as an officer. The incident that you spoke of on Bells Road, I think that call come in around 12:35 in the afternoon. We got a report of a possible house fire on Bells Road. Companies 12, 11, and Ladder 11, myself, of course, responded. And on arrival, we had it was a one-story, 1.5 story. You could tell from the street that it was a dwelling that had been converted. The upstairs had been converted into an apartment because of the exterior stairway leading to the upstairs area, which at one time was an attic. We had light smoke conditions coming out of the 2nd floor on arrival. However, it didn't look like it was any major consequence. We give the report of a working fire, whereas Wagon 12 stretched the line from Bells Road, and I advised the engine coming from 11 to pick up the split and make the lay onto the plug. So 12 went on in and made the attack. They pulled the 1 3/4 line. The captain and the man in the jump seat advanced the line on up the exterior stairs. Well, 11 and Ladder 11 and Wagon 11 got there just about this time, and they started. I advised the captain from Company 11 to assist the captain from Company 12 to go upstairs and to start searching for the fire. We had a report from the occupants that everybody had gotten out. I spoke with the lady who called the fire in, and she said that the fire, there was smoke coming out of a closet on the 2nd floor. So Captain McAndrews from 12C had this information, and that's where his primary concern was at that point, is trying to locate the fire. We knew we didn't have no life hazard at that time. Getting back to Company 11, they're arriving on the scene, and I advised Captain Martinet to go up and assist Captain McAndrews in searching for this fire. The ladder company immediately went to the roof to start ventilating, and as time progressed, this fire became worse than we anticipated, mainly because it was an attic that had been closed in and turned into an apartment. And you have to remember, this construction is of the balloon construction type. This building was built in the 20s. And not only was it of the balloon construction type, we found later that it had 5 different layers of shingles on the roof. And the outside, the siding material had 2 different siding materials on there. It was a cedar shake house when the house was built. Then they come along and they covered it up with asbestos shingles. So we found later that this was to become more of a problem for us than we realized.
Right. So basically, to this point, what you had was Wagon 12 arrived on the scene. You had light smoke showing. So you knew you had somewhat of a job on your hands just from pulling up. They did a split lay. Another engine from 11 came up, picked up the split lay, went down to the hydrant. You had your water source, so you had a pretty good water source. Light smoke showing. And I guess your main command mode at this time was to locate the fire.
That's
you knew
correct.
everybody was out, but you had to locate the fire.
No life problem at all.
No life
That's
problem at all. When they opened up the roof, when they went ahead and made their initial hole on the roof, what were the smoke conditions, I guess, at that point?
Well, the smoke conditions continued to worsen. I was getting reports from the interior sector that we can't locate the fire. We need to get this place vented.
Right.
I advised the interior that we were venting the place. The truck company had opened the roof, and we found later, because of the way this thing was built and designed and turned into an apartment, when they open up the roof, they just open up between two roof rafters. And the only smoke we were getting is the smoke that was between those two roof rafters, because the ceiling inside the apartment was nailed right to the roof rafters.
Okay.
And then in the center of the apartment, they had dropped down, and we had about a 3-foot dead space in the center. And then as it fell off to where the hip fell back down to the front and the back of the structure, then again we only had the sheetrock nailed to the rafters. So when he opened it up, they were looking at the sheetrock, and of course they pushed that down. And the only smoke we were getting is the smoke that was between the rafters and what was in the room at the time.
Okay.
So it really wasn't clearing out very well. And the conditions, as I mentioned, were getting worse, and you'll see it in the tape when we start rolling the tape, that the smoke and heat conditions were rapidly deteriorating.
So you knew at this point that you had a hidden fire somewhere.
This is correct. We knew we had
growing.
A lot of fire hidden, and the captains were reporting back that they could not locate this fire. Basically, I think where we really started off on the wrong foot was the report from the occupant was it's smoke coming out of a closet. Well, the closet we found later that this lady was talking about was actually an access into the attic area over the kitchen. So the men went in and started looking for a closet, and this door was behind a couch, and we couldn't even find it. And obviously, as time went on, the smoke conditions worse and worse, and we opened up what windows there were, and the heat just continued to get worse at this point. So anyway, we've got 2 lines operating up there. We're not flowing any water because we haven't found the fire yet.
Mm-hmm.
So Captain Martinet came out, and he says, we cannot find no fire up there. And I look at the house, and I said, give me a break, buddy. Look at this. And this house is, I mean, now I'm getting concerned about the people upstairs, the men on the roof. Things aren't looking well at this point.
Right.
So I had sent Captain Martinet into the first floor, where we had earlier checked on the first floor, and there was no signs of anything. It was all up high. So when Captain Martinet went back on the first floor, he called me and said, I've located a fire. He had gone in and pulled the ceilings down in the kitchen. Well, what he was looking at is the fire that was in the attic above the kitchen. But at this point in time, it had gotten so bad upstairs, the men upstairs couldn't see anything, and we couldn't get the smoke out fast enough. And then now it's starting to get hotter up here.
Mm-hmm.
So going to have to make a decision here soon. Either we stay in, or we're going to have to pull them out and fight this thing from down below. So then, there again, that condition progressively got worse. We had one firefighter that went to the front bedroom, still searching for this closet where this fire may be. The door slammed shut into this front bedroom, cutting him off from the hose line crew that was in the living room. Well, at this point in time, there was a flashover. There was a captain and a firefighter on that in the living room at the time. It flashed, and the firefighter that got cut off when the door slammed, it flashed in that same room with him, and then he left and bailed out the front window, which is the dormer window, and he jumped out that window, and as it was, there was a porch there, and there was a ladder company was still on the roof, and they assisted him, and he stood up and gave me the all clear sign that he was fine. But at this point, the men inside were caught in this flashover. They just opened up and knocked down the fire that flashed over them at that point in time, and I ordered them back out of the house at this point. So
So basically, at this point, were you able to pinpoint the origin of fire, where it was coming from, or had you found it yet?
We still had not found the fire on the second floor.
Okay.
And as time went on, we realized several mistakes had been made. Nobody in the first or second crew on that second floor had opened up any walls or ceilings. And looking back on it, anytime you've got a fire, any of you are confronted with a fire such as this, in this type of construction, whereas you've taken an attic and turned it into an apartment, you immediately need to, once you go up, you can't locate any fire, immediately start pulling ceilings and open up the walls. I think what happened there again, the men went in, and I wish now that we'd never been told about this closet because we'd have found the fire a whole lot sooner. They went in with somewhat of tunnel vision looking for a closet. The closet was never found. And this fire was allowed to burn out of control. Well, I'm guessing it maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes before we ever got to call it burnt due to the nature of the burn pattern we found up in this hidden space after the fire was out. So it had a good start on us, and then it literally chased us out of the building on more than one occasion.
So the fire started behind this knee wall, behind this so-called closet that everybody was looking for.
Obviously, an attic fire will give a firefighter worse trouble of any fire he's going to have. It's really difficult to fight an attic fire. Most of the time, you got to find a scuttle, get up through the scuttle, or you just got to go in and start pulling ceilings and be ready to go to war with the fire once you've located it. Then you take and you close in an attic area. Now you've really compounded your problem, and that's what happened to us. It was compounded by this attic being turned into an apartment. We had an attic fire, but we didn't treat it like one.
Right.
And that's looking back on it. That's where our problems were. We didn't treat it like an attic fire. We didn't open up the walls or pull ceilings soon enough, and as time went on, we couldn't stay in there. We had to get out. I mentioned the flashover. We were lucky; nobody got hurt. And by the way, I think we kept this thing burning for almost 2 hours. The training center came down with their staff, and they filmed this fire. And I was told later that they used up all their battery and had to go back and get another battery. They had opportunity to review this film and come back, and we were still keeping this thing burning.
Well, I think
so
we
really give us a hard time.
Well, I think we had a lot of Monday morning quarterbacks on this fire, and a lot of comments on it. That it did burn for a long time. So, what could you offer? I know you talked about pulling ceilings and opening up walls for for anything like this in the future. So, we can get to these fires. And in your 22 years experience, what can you tell us that would help us combat this fire?
I can tell you this, if you're confronted with a similar type fire or a construction of a similar nature that you'll see in this tape, if you can get in the structure and you're inside on the second floor of an apartment that's been converted from an attic into an apartment, then immediately, if there's no fire visible, you need to immediately start pulling ceilings and opening up walls right then and there, because eventually, if you don't do it at the onset, you will be run out either by the heat or the smoke will be so bad that you can't just get the smoke out fast enough. And with all the smoke, you can't see what you're doing.
Everything building.
It makes your job that more difficult. There again, if any of you out there are confronted with a similar fire in the construction of this era, we're talking in the 20s, don't hesitate to immediately start pulling those ceilings.
Punching some holes in some walls.
And punching some holes in some walls. If we'd have done that earlier, this fire would have never lasted this long. I mean, we chased this fire. I've been down at the Beach Borough, and that's where all your old homes are anywhere in the oceanfront area. That's the oldest part of the city. And we've done this on more than one occasion. We have chased fire up, down, across. Fire does burn vertically, it burns horizontally, and it'll burn back down again. Don't let anybody tell you any different than that. So if you got an attic fire that's been converted into an apartment, treat it like an attic fire. Don't hesitate to open it up. Because if you don't, it's going to run you around for, like it did us, for a couple hours. We never burnt the roof off this house, by the way. But I don't know if that's a plus or not. At one point during the fire, Joe, Captain Martinet and firefighter Maples had, in their search, had gone into the bathroom on the second floor. And Martinet recanted to me later that he recalls it being very hot in that bathroom, and everybody was being quiet, and they could hear this thing roaring. But for some reason, Buddy didn't think about why is it hotter in this bathroom and everywhere else in this whole upstairs. At that point in time, he didn't really give it a lot of thought. Looking back on it, and after the fire's out and we got a chance to get in there when the walls are all open up, torn down, we found that fire started behind the bathroom wall, and it started from some pipe wrap material where they wrap pipes to keep it from freezing. Well, the gentleman who owned the house had done that the day before, and he plugged it into a ceiling light in that attic space. And the problems started right there in that wall, immediately behind the bathroom, behind the tub area where the pipes were exposed in the attic. But anyway, once we got in there and looked, we could tell, I mean, this thing burned away like 5 2x12.
Right.
Just burn
I
them,
remember
slam
seeing
away.
those.
And that's when we got to look at the roof. At one point in the tape, you'll see where they ripped off the vent cover for the power vent that gets the hot air out of the attic space in the summertime. Well, you see one of the men ripping that off. Little did he know, about 3 feet further to the exposure force side of the structure, if he'd have went that far, he'd been dead because he'd have fell through the 5 layers of shingles.
He was basically right above the fire.
He was almost over the fire. And at one point in the tape, you'll also see where they've got a roof ladder. I think it's firefighter Lindsay's on the ladder with a hatchet, one-handed, and he's going right through it, and he is directly over the fire. By then, of course, the fire had spread across the attic and burnt down on the other side, which would be the exposure one side, gotten down into that knee wall in more concealed spaces. And you'll see we went to master streams, and it looked like we had darkened this thing down. The squirt wasn't in that great of a position, but once we had committed ourselves, we couldn't relocate that squirt to get what we wanted with a master stream. We did use the squirt, however. It didn't prove to be that effective, and you'll see that in the tape. Also, we did use a 2.5-inch handheld through the dormer in the front, and that slowed this fire down.
That worked pretty good.
That worked real well.
You could see a lot of steam conversion.
And then
with that
I called
line.
the captains out. We had a little gathering. At this point, I told them, okay, we're going to go back in, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to start opening up, and now we're going to get onto it.
Okay, Chief, on this particular fire, you mentioned the squirt operations when you went to defensive modes, and I'm as much a Monday morning quarterback as anybody, and on this particular fire, when you talk about squirts and positioning the squirt to use and whatever, and you weren't in the best position to use that apparatus on this fire, what could you offer us for future incidents such as this, or any incident where we may be using a squirt?
Well, by all means, don't overlook the capabilities of these squirts. I'm a firm believer in they have their place in the fire service. However, I don't feel like you can use them on every fire. This particular fire, once the fire ran us out of this building the second time, we decided, me and the deputy, he was there, Chief Carter, said, well, this is getting to be too dangerous to operate in. Let's go ahead and go to exterior. Well, that's when we went to the squirt. Well, because of the location of a squirt, it wasn't practical. The stream was very ineffective. Had it been located a little more to the front of the building, or a little more to the exposure force side, it would have been a little different outcome. However, it wasn't, and once you got all your hose lines off the truck, I mean, we had like 8 lines off this truck, you can't move it.
No, you really can't. Not once you get set. It's just
right.
like, a ladder truck. Once you start flowing that ladder pipe, you're set.
That's right. And obviously, we pull up on this thing. We got a little job here. Looks like, 15 minutes, we're going to be out of here. Well, 2 hours later, I'm saying, is this going to ever stop? Well, it's just one of those things. However, yeah, you can use a squirt, use a squirt. Personally, my own observation of the operation of a squirt, it's a great tool for exposure problems. I mean, one man can operate it. You can get it up and get it up in a hurry. If you got a ripping fire and you got exposure problems, it's great for that. Excellent. And it would have worked on this job if we'd have had it in position, say, at the exposure one side. If that had been on a street other than off a lane. We're talking almost 200 feet off the road this house was.
Right.
If it had been facing the street and we'd have pulled up in a normal mode, that would have been perfect. We'd have put the water right into the dormer and
Right.
washed the fire right out the back. It
Right.
didn't work that way. It had to go to the handheld line, and it was productive. The ladder truck you'll see in the film was there, and we couldn't get the ladder in a position because of the fresh plowed field, and it would have never made it to the front. Exposure one side, it would have been stuck. We'd have had to got the wrecker in there. I guess that's all I need to say about the squirt. Don't overlook the capabilities of it. But you're limited. I heard comment at this particular fire, at the height of the operation, someone was yelling, put it down lower and get it in the window. That squirt has limitations. It will only go so low, below a certain angle, and it's unsafe to operate anymore. So the operator knew that. He had it as low as it would go with a man on the end. We had a man on the end operating the nozzle because at the time that we started, the man on the ground was operating. The smoke conditions got so bad, couldn't even see the building. So at that point, it was decided to put a man on the end of it where he could at least see where he was putting the water. And once you put a man on the end, you're limited to the operating loads and angles. So obviously we couldn't get it down low enough to put it directly into the stairs, the exterior stairs that you'll see.
Okay, Chief, at this point you ordered your personnel off the roof, and I remember watching you because we happened to be there video in the fire, that you did it rather abruptly.
Yeah, Joe, at this point, I've been watching this thing for about 15 minutes. The color of the smoke, as you'll see in the tape, has changed colors three or four different times. Some good color, different color variations of the smoke. Abruptly, it's putting it mildly. I don't think I said that. What I said to the men on the roof, I can't repeat on this tape. But the bottom line was things were deteriorating so fast that I thought this thing was going to mushroom out the doors, the windows, and these men would be cut off. So they had to get ladder saws and the rest of their tools off the roof. And in the process, this thing is getting worse and worse, and they're moving as fast as they can. And I must admit, there was a couple of times there when I had a tight feeling in my stomach because, you know, no fire officer likes to see his men get hurt. And things were getting bad. At this point in time, I could see some of my folks getting hurt. You'll notice also in this tape, two of the firefighters are at the A of the roof, right on the top, and they're completely obscured by smoke. And this is tough pushing smoke here. We're not talking about no drifty smoke. This stuff is being pushed out of every crack in every shingle up there. And little do we know, we're right above all this fire. And in some cases, like I had said before, the roof raft has been burned slam away. The only thing supporting the roof was the roof itself, the shingles, interlocking, 5 layers of them. So we could have very easily had 2 or 3 men drop right in the heart of this fire. So anyway, that's why I reacted in that manner off the roof. Now there's no time for discussion. So as I repeated to the men inside, back out to the front door on the landing, and we did that. So because, conditions, it's just gotten to that point, we're going to get somebody hurt. And I thought that was a plus for us. Even though we kept this fire burning for 2 hours, there was no injuries at all. And we never did burn the roof off of it, contrary to the deputy. He come up to me a couple of times. He said, I think we're going to lose this one. And I said, no, I don't think so. And after about the 3rd time, I said, well, you know, he may know something here. He may see something I don't see. But we never did burn the roof off of it. But that's about all I can say. We didn't burn the roof off. The inside of it was gutted pretty well on the 2nd level.
Chief, we appreciate you coming by to set a Frontline today and sharing your experience with the Bells Road fire. We encourage everybody out there to get some video, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to try to run this segment of All Hands each month. If you have a camcorder or a video recorder or what have you, and you go out there and you get some shots of some fire, send them in to Bob, and we'll try to use them. We'd like to do, again, 1 each month. Chief, is there anything else you'd like to share with us here before we cut away today?
I think this is an excellent opportunity for for myself and for any fire officer that has a special fire problem and there's someone out there that can get some of this on tape, to bring it into the video team, let them do some work with it, get the fire officers that were in charge of the incident, and go over it and share it with the whole department. I feel like there's bound to be some folks out there that will get something out of this. I just wish there'd been another shift working, because it was somewhat embarrassing for me and my men, and I'll give them that. They gave 100% that day, and they were really tired and frustrating experience for us to have to do what we had to do. So I think this video is an excellent opportunity to get the message out to all the men in the field regarding special problems that we may have. And I share in what you just said that if anybody can get any footage of any type fire, especially one that would become a special attraction, if I may, out of the norm, to get it to the video team, and let's get this thing out for everybody to learn from it. And I think we all can.
All right. For everybody here at All Hands, we'll see you next month.
Hi, I'm Linda Allen with the Fire Training Center Library. Just wanted to let you know that the library is now on the email system. If you need to reserve or check out books, videos, or other AV equipment, please notify me through the email. Any materials you check out can be sent to you through interoffice mail. If you have any questions, leave me a note on the email or call me here at Fire Training at 425-6272. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Captain Brown with the Virginia Beach Fire Department here at TRFA number 36. And we are at the Little Creek Rappel Tower, and we're running about 30 students through the introductory Rope Rescue .5 course. Here they're learning the art of rappelling on a rope, how to handle themselves on a rope, how to do rope rescue to the simplest extent as far as locking off an 8-plate, and self-rescue with a prusik. Hopefully these people will be prepared to go to the field and continue with their rope rescue skill training.
Next, if you all will take a moment and get your fire worksheets, Battalion Chief Paul Monch will review the sheets with you. If there are any questions or problems regarding the sheets, please don't hesitate to give me a call.
Hello. As all you know, my name is Battalion Chief Paul March, and I will be hosting the fire worksheet section of Frontline. So let's go ahead and get our worksheets out. Start on page 1, and we'll get going. Question number 1. Which of the following knots is used to tighten a rope between two objects? The answer is C, clove hitch. Question number 2. When you begin to administer mouth-to-mouth ventilations, you should first provide how many full breaths? The correct answer is A, 2. What is the advantage of a half sheep shank with a safety over the other knots? The answer is C. You can tighten it after tying it. Question number 4. Which of the following is the result of a size-up? The answer is B, devising a plan of action. Question number 5. Which of the following is formed by bending a rope into an O shape? The answer is C, loop. Question 6. How often should ventilations be provided during two-person CPR to an adult? The answer is A, once every 5 compressions. Now let's turn to page 2 and start with question number 7. Tack lines used to prevent objects from striking buildings are generally tied using which knot? The correct answer is C, clove hitch. Question number 8. When making a size-up of a rescue operation, know all of your resources and do which of the following? The answer is C, learn the facts of the situation. Question number 9. If you become trapped in a hallway during a search and rescue, Which of the following options below should you try first? The correct answer is B. Go to a room off the hallway. Question number 10. What should you do before you cut an electrical wire? The correct answer is B. Secure the wire in place. Question number 11. The report of an emergency call involving a vehicular accident should include A. The number of people involved and the type of injuries. Question number 12. Which knot is not likely to slip under strain and is easily untied? The correct answer is A. Bowline. Now let's turn to page 3 and start with question number 13. Which knot is used to hoist a charged hose line? The correct answer is A. Clove hitch with a safety and a half hitch. Question number 14. Placing trench jacks high and low in a trench allows C. Movement of personnel in the trench. Question number 15. There are 3 types of keys used to open most elevator doors in an emergency. They include D. Drop keys. Question 16. Which rope will stretch the most before breaking? The correct answer is A. Nylon. Question number 17. How does damage from alkalis show on ropes? The correct answer is A. As spots or discolorations on the rope. Question number 18. Which is the primary use of a chimney hitch? The correct answer is A. Taking up the slack during an operation. Okay, now let's turn to page 4 and we'll start with question number 19. If the doors of an accident vehicle are jammed, what is the next choice for gaining entry? The correct answer is C. The windows. Question number 20. When tying a rescue knot, you need to double the rope back on itself for a distance of B. 8 feet. This concludes the worksheet portion of Frontline. If you have any questions about this portion of the program, contact Bill Lloyd at Fire Training.
That's all for this month's Frontline. If you have any suggestions, ideas, questions, or issues that you would like brought out in Frontline, please don't hesitate to give me